Problem 5-76. Although the quadratic formula always works as a strategy to solve quadratic equations, for many problems it is not the most efficient method. Sometimes it is faster to factor or complete the square, or even just outthink the problem. For each question below, choose the method you think is the most efficient to solve the equation and explain your reason. Then solve the problems that can be factored. So first of all, you're not solving all of these unless you think that factoring is the most efficient way. So as we look at A here, we have x squared plus 7x minus 8 equals 0. As I look at this, I can't think of another way here that really jumps out as being more efficient than factoring. I think letter A here we could solve by factoring, because if we take it here, and let's just go ahead and do it because it's not that difficult. We have x squared plus 7x minus 8 equals 0. This should factor into, if you need to use a generic rectangle, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead here, and I know that I have very few factors of 8. It only has 8 and 1 and 4 and 2. And I know that 8 and 1 have a difference of 7, so it'd be pretty easy here to just go ahead and factor it this way. So I know I have my factors of 8 and 1. I need to end up with positive 7, so I need my 8 to be positive, minus 1 there. Then I can use my zero product property, set each of these equal to 0. Solve them, I get x equals negative 8, or x equals 1. So the easiest method for this one would be factoring, and let's actually just include in there with zero product property. Okay, let's look at B. Letter B, we have x plus 2, that quantity squared equals 49. Now the difference between this one and this one is, notice we have two x terms in that first one. Here we just have one single x and it's inside the grouping symbols. So since our grouping symbol is already isolated, I think the easiest way to solve this one would be to use square roots. So we want to solve by undoing the squared term. And I know that it says to only solve the ones that we're factoring, but these are easy. Let's just go ahead and solve it real quick. We've got x plus 2 squared equals 49. So if I want to get the x out of the grouping symbols, let's just go ahead and take the square root of each side. Remember, this is what it means to use the square roots. So the absolute value of x plus 2 is going to equal 7, which means that x plus 2 could equal 7, or x plus 2 could end up being negative 7, because either of those values could make this true. Not for x, but just for the whole thing there. Subtract 2 from each side, x equals 5, or x equals negative 9. There is letter B. Now remember, it didn't force you to solve that one, but a little extra practice doesn't hurt. Let's look at letter C. 5x squared minus x minus 7. So for this one, when I look at this, I think of my only factors of 7 are 7 and 1. And when I multiply 7 times 5, I have 35. And when I multiply 5 times 1, I get 5. But neither of those is going to end up with a difference of 1. So this one's going to be the best choice for the quadratic formula. Let's just go ahead and do it for fun. Why not? So I'm going to rewrite it here. It's already equal to 0, so I know that A equals 5, B equals -1, and C equals -7. So let's use that formula. X equals the opposite of B plus or minus the square root of -1 squared minus 4 times 5 times -7. And that is a -7 in there. All over 2 times 5. So x equals 1 plus or minus 1. Let's see here, we have -4 times 5 is -20. -20 times -7 be positive 140, so we have plus 140 all over 10. So we get x equals 1 plus or minus the square root of 141 all over 10. And that's why it doesn't factor, because we're not going to get something that's very clean there. And last but not least here, let's look at D. Well, we haven't used all the methods here, so this one might be a good choice for completing the square. We've got an x squared, which is a perfect square, and we have an even number for our middle term. That should make it easier. Let's just go ahead and do this one, completing the square, so everybody remembers what it is. D x squared plus 4x plus blank equals -1 plus blank. Well, if I was trying to make a perfect square trinomial here, remember this would be like saying I need a perfect square over here. So I'd have an x squared. If I have 4 x's, that means I'd have to split them evenly to make this a perfect square. So these have to be 2x, that have to be 2x, which is going to leave me with x plus 2 and x plus 2 on the outside. 2 times 2 is 4. So in order to make this a perfect square, I'm going to have to add 4 here. And if I add 4 to the left side, we have to add 4 to the right side. This is the part that most errors occur with. People forget this 4. So x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 3. The reason we completed the square is so that we could factor it. Of x plus 2 squared equals 3. Take the square root of each side. I'll get the absolute value of x plus 2 equals radical 3. So x plus 2 should equal positive or negative radical 3. So x equals -2 plus or minus radical 3. There's your answer for that one. Again, it doesn't ask you to do all of those. The only one that you should actually do is this one. But in case you tried them, these are your answers. Again, this is problem 5-76. If you have questions, make sure you ask your teacher. These skills here are very important. If you want to be successful the rest of the year, you need to make sure that you understand this and you know how to do these different methods. Thanks for watching.